Eu vou até depois, né?
Just keeps going.
60 pounds.
We must take off about 100.
How much were you?
60.
I was 37.
That's Allison. She's got done eating, guys. Allison's 48.
That is impossible.
Oh, no, she keeps going.
I see him more in the middle then.
Alex, I see your foot there. Alex, I see your.
She just keeps going up. She's
of the visible light spectrum. The colors range from shorter wavelengths.
This is the joy.
Makes you want that number to go down very slowly.
Go forward. There you go, go forward. This is where you're going to go up.
Unusual surface feature detected. Fly closer before launching.
Fly closer. There you go.
Sorry.
Keep going.
When you find something interesting, on the console, you'll find a map screen, message screen, and ROV camera screen. Keep an eye on your mission clock as time is limited. Begin your mission now.
I cannot draw a nose.
Unusual surface feature detected. Fly closer before launching the probe.
You were floating, so.
Are they shut down?
I think they can be. Would you slide your foot
See,
in
then
there?
there's those straps we have to
Must have been like the kitchen. Water's just kind of everywhere. Wow. You like us jump?
y'all go only halfway, or reduce our size in the face of difficulty, in my judgment, it would be better not to go at all.
have some kind of machine telling your body, okay, do this now, do this now. You just stay alive that way. I'm trying to explain it. You keep talking in all my sentences.
Did you explain the same thing over like 4 times?
Yes, you can only do that if you're nervous.
I know what you're doing. Thank you.
Ready to go?
An deinen Arbeitsplatz.
I'd be really confused.
Hier steht Occupied.
Das ist die Pilotenuniform.
Para darle del revés.
Runs the engine up, and when he's satisfied,
Wow, fast.
Oh, just a tiny window. See that?
Yesteryears. Yesteryear.
Long time ago. What? Were you like this later and you're gonna have that breath? That was the moment I think.
Especially when it's flying past. Put one finger in.
Quit.
We're in a hurry now. So about me and make a lot of mistakes.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a concert given by the men and women of the President's Own United States Marine Band. I'm Sarah Del Olmo, and let me introduce you to the conductor for tonight's performance. She is the Assistant Director of the President's Own. Would you please welcome Captain Michelle Raker. Gentlemen, would you please stand for the playing of our national anthem? summer weather, and joining us here tonight, we have a wonderful hour of music to take your mind off the heat. So sit back, relax, try to catch the breeze if you can. We'll begin tonight with the music of a great Italian opera composer, Gioacchino Rossini. He's known for his operas like The Barber of Seville, but tonight we offer you the overture to one of his lesser-known works called La Gazza Ladra. Now this translates The Thieving Magpie, and the story is about a young girl who is accused of stealing a silver spoon. She is tried and found guilty and sentenced to death. But just in the nick of time, she is saved as the true thief is discovered. You'll remember the title, The Magpie, is the bird with a tendency to steal shiny objects. So they find the nest, the possessions are returned to the rightful owners, and as true Rossini operas always end, they all end well. So we have a happy ending here, is the overture to La Gazza Ladra by Rossini. It's music not for the head, but for the feet. So we send you marching on your way tonight with more music of the March King. Here is Our Flirtations.
Oh, the lady drives from the that line on the tip?
The red line means the Senate's in session.
Oh, okay.
And I'm surprised that they
I thought you were good.
keep your hands inside.
Thank you.
painting and designing the Capitol building before he eventually died. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stories about him. The paint that he used was actually lead-based paint, and he used to lick the horsehair brushes that he would use. So he ingested a lot of lead over the course of his life. And by the time he died, he had dementia, and he would kind of like yell at people and like throw paint at them and whatnot. But I'll throw in some crazy graffiti stories as we go throughout the Capitol complex. This room that we're standing in right here is called the Hall of Inventors. It's because you can see Fitch and Franklin and Fulton overlooking the corresponding committee rooms. This is originally where the Senate Foreign Relations Committee met. Now they moved over to the Dirksen Senate building, which we walked underneath. A lot of the committee rooms are over there right now. This is a large one. If you look up here, this is one of the only two paintings that have been added to the Capitol. The other one's right here, since Graffiti died. So Congress took a vote on what the most politically and culturally significant moments of the last century were. They came up with the landing on the moon, and that's the Challenger coup from 1986. It's estimated that he had a rock in his on his table. He was a rock, you know. He was like, oh, I have to keep it with me at all times. He wrote on there. He intended to make all of them as beautiful as this, but he just didn't have time to get it all done before he died. As we move through the Capitol complex, you see a lot of these statues here. It's because each state is allowed to donate 2 of them to the Capitol. They either have to be marble or bronze, and they're usually someone who's politically or culturally significant to that state. But they don't have to be an original resident of that state. It could just be somebody who's significant nationally. Like, there's a lot of Lincoln, for example. Small rotunda. It's actually an exact replica of the original rotunda in the Capitol building that was there before the British permit now. So I'll let you grab a picture here. Otherwise, we'll put it over there. I'll tell you more about all of the Capitol. Come up here because there's a great story about the Capitol here. It's actually saved from an old church in Baltimore in 1855, right into the church was knocked down, and the construction company ran it, sold it to a rich senator for $150. Yeah, the floral patterns are different. They're actually very American. They have corn husks and tobacco flowers, two major cash crops throughout American history. And also, if you take a look at those flowers surrounded by the red, those are also tobacco flowers. So, all right, well, this is the large rotunda. Obviously, it's what you're looking at from the outside of the building. I like to call it the main event because it's awesome. All right, well, we'll start from the top of the dome and work our way down. First of all, it's 18 stories tall. You can fit the Statue of Liberty in this room, and there'd still be space. So that's pretty sweet. If you look at this painting all the way at the top, it's called the Apotheosis of George Washington, which means the rising of George Washington to the rank of God. Check right across from that banner, the Florida Union banner, and that's Washington raising his, let's see, right hand, no, left hand, right hand on the Bible. Okay, usually I do this from the other side. You can see around him are the 13 mistresses, which represent the 13 original colonists. Coming down, you can see right underneath these windows here is actually a balcony, and only senators and congressmen are allowed to go up there unless you're escorted by one. So I really want to go up there at some point.
You better get it done today.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, you check right down here at this diorama. I know, first time I saw it, I thought it was a sculpture actually, because it looks like they're popping out at you. But it's not, it's just a painting. It was done in a style that makes it look like it's popping out. Yeah, let's see here. It actually represents 150 years of American history. If you look at right there, that's Columbus Landing. You can follow all the way around. It's displaying relevant events until it ends up with the flight of Kitty Hawk with the Wright Flyer. But obviously Graffiti wasn't alive at that time. The last 50 feet were left blank, and another artist was made it later. So yeah. Okay, I told you I played Graffiti crazy stories. He used to like cut his face all around the Capitol building. He was crazy. So yeah, it's like put little pictures of himself. Like when Congress found out, they passed a law that said he this column to the left of the door here. You follow it all the way up. You see that tree diorama? Look at the base of the tree, just above the little plant. That's its base. So yeah, he was crazy. Also, when he was up there painting that diorama, he actually slept and he hung on for his life. They came out of his group. Finally found it. Alright, well, I'll point out a couple of my favorite facts about the paintings around here, and then tell you my one, like, seriously favorite story, and then we'll leave. The signing of the Declaration of Independence here, and it's my favorite painting because what's going on with Jefferson and Adams right here. Jefferson's the guy in the orange vest right behind the desk, and Adams is the stockier guy right behind him. If you look at their feet, you see Jefferson's foot like stepping on top of Adams' foot, and they were political rivals. And this, yeah. Well, the story goes that Jefferson's family bought the painting after they both died, and like painted over it and forged it so that his foot was stepping on top of Adams' foot, like displaying political dominance. On the horse there, it's George Washington's second in command, and the reason for that is that General Cornwallis, the commander of the British, was too ashamed to show up and admit defeat, so he sent his second in command, and Washington in turn did the same thing. So that's Washington on the brown horse in the background. And let's see here. This painting here is Washington resigning his military commission, kind of setting the precedent for American presidents without a military connection. So that's pretty good. And one of the most controversial paintings in the Capitol, just because of its religious overtones, is the baptism of Pocahontas right here. And you can see, it's kind of black by the statue, but the guy, the Native American, kind of looking dejected and sitting on the ground, that's Pocahontas' brother, and he's very upset that she's adopting Western culture and religion. Yeah. Alright, I'll tell you my favorite story of the whole tour, and then we'll leave this room. During the Civil War, this room was a Civil War medical field hospital, and so there were like actual medical beds like all around here, and for some reason people in this room lived, the survival rate was 20% higher than anywhere else in the country, and they didn't know why. And it turns out that like the floor in here used to get pretty slippery because there'd be a lot of blood, and they would bring in fire trucks to wash out the whole area to like clean off the floors, but in doing so they washed the beds and the medical tools and introduced a level of sanitation that wasn't there anywhere else in the medical field. So that's why people live longer. But the Surgeon General had to attribute it to something, and he attributed it to the fact that the room was so large that it must be like the air circulation or something. So what he did was he commissioned several, right now it's called the Statutory Hall. Nobody calls it that, they call it the Whispering Room. It's originally where the House of Representatives met in the Capitol. If you check out these gold squares here, so it says James Buchanan, right? Here it says Paul. That's where James Buchanan's desk was when he was in the House of Representatives. So it denotes where a representative who later became president sat. And everybody you can see crowding over here around Adams' little square, that's where his desk was. And they call it the Whispering Room because with the acoustics in the room and the way that ceiling is structured there, if you whisper over there, you can hear it very clearly right here. And so Adams just pretend like he was asleep and scribble notes about the opposition strategy on the other side of the room. So when he died, they found hundreds of pages of notes that he had just been taking. So there's actually not a ton of people in here, so we can try it if you guys want to see if you can hear me whisper.
Yeah. Yeah, come over here. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
Face this way. I can hear him.
If you face this way, you can hear him right here. See? I'll move so you can hear them.
Listen.
I can't hear them.
They spread all throughout the room, but they were damaging the floor because they were so heavy, so they moved them to the outside where there's more circles. But this is one of the more famous statues in the Capitol building. It's of King Kamehameha, who was the first king to unite the Hawaiian Islands. And it's kind of famous just because it's supposed to be an exact replica of how large he actually was. He was supposed to be over 7 feet tall. And I just think it's like really impressive to look at how big this guy was. These are real flowers too. They weren't here when I first started giving tours, but a delegation from Hawaii came and put them on. That's just what I decided near the end of their life they'd rather be buried in Mount Vernon. So after that, no president really had the audacity to be like, well, I'll be the first right now, its primary purpose is just to support the and these columns all evenly distribute the weight down into the ground to support that. We'll hop up and down on it and step on it because it's supposed to be lucky to do that because it's the exact center of Washington, D.C. right there. So if you ever see that square that's superimposed on a map of D.C., it's the center of that square. So if you guys want to walk across it, I mean, you have to. It's your ear. So go, walk across the star, and that's pretty much the end of the tour.
They give you locks?
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of them.
First Street?
Is it in the shade?
First and what?
Looking off to the left, a monk is copying a book in a monastery, and on the right is Gutenberg looking at a sheet of proof. And what better place to explain to? I'm sure you all recognize this gentleman. This is Thomas Jefferson, and he has a very honored niche. This is a niche here, and the building was named after him for something that he did very special for us in 1814. Before we start though, the left profile of this bust is the source of the 5-cent piece that you might have in your pocket. That goes back to 1938, when the British invaded Washington and marched down from Chesapeake Bay. They burnt the White House, they burned the Navy Yard, and across the street the Capitol took by then 3,000 Library of Congress books and used them as fuel for a fire, which they set from top to bottom in hopes of burning this Capitol building. It didn't work. All the books went up in smoke, but the building remained standing. The interior. You might be thinking the course of this tour just wandering around and seeing this. Right, yeah. In fact, that's where a lot of the artists and sculptors came from the Columbian exhibition. Yeah. Find their work across the street, and it's a constant use for parties and luncheons and lectures and ceremonies. And we just got word that it was open, so why not take a look at it before we're thrown out? But it really tells a great story about this building. This, of course, was created by members for themselves. And, of course, you see these lights and sconces. This is the first electrified public building in Washington. And the proportions of this room are similar to the same idea that you see on mansions, on Fifth Avenue, New York, or in Biltmore down in Asheville, North Carolina. Grand houses produced in the Gilded Age. Overhead, 7 painted panels. Okay, we're going to go out and continue our tour. We're going to go upstairs and we're going to see an object of Thomas Jefferson's books, the ones that he sent up from Monticello in 1815 and changed this library forever. These books are arranged in the order that he had them arranged in Monticello, and they were in a rather large room down there. All right, we're about to go up to see the second great interior in this building, the main reading room. And this has an interesting story in its own right. And again, once we get there, no photography. You could find really good images of everything you see, though, on our website. Just to call your attention to one thing on the landing, this huge mosaic that depicts